And next up is Summer to discuss The Houses October Built. Now, you recommended both of these movies, and we watched both of these movies. We're going to discuss both of them in one kind of clump here,
Right.
And I'm only going to show you the trailer to the first one. Because honestly, I think watching the trailer to the second one is probably going to be spoilery for the first one.
Absolutely.
So we're going to avoid that and just jump right into the trailer. All right. So, why did you bring this movie to us?
Well, again, I love the found footage movies, and I can honestly say that you could probably bear to not watch the sequel, but I mean, it definitely gave you a little bit more understanding as to what the first one was. Maybe too much understanding, but the first one, covered a lot of grounds as far as horror movies go. Um, it was scary. You didn't know what was going on. You didn't know it was coming around every corner. And I love haunted houses. And when they bring something like a haunt that finds you rather than you looking for the haunt, that's kind of scary.
Yeah. No, I will say that the first movie I genuinely really, really enjoyed. And I thought there were definitely some elements of it that were just really good and scary. The porcelain doll character was really good.
Terrified me.
Yeah, she was great. The concept alone, like you said, I mean, this movie had to do with extreme haunts. I've done a few reviews of movies about that. This is another one, but it kind of takes it in a different direction, where they are traveling from one haunted house to another, and always on the underground looking for people that might know of that special haunted house.
Right.
And I really was very impressed with the way that they pulled it off, and what the characters went through as the movie progressed. I really, really liked. And the reason I was so upset with the sequel was it felt like it didn't just not live up to the name, but it negated a lot of the first movie.
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean, that's tough to do when you have a sequel that doesn't just get marks down on it, but actually affects the first movie. That's a whole new level of ugh.
Right. Yeah. And there's things that they could have done with the second movie to improve that, to make it so you still have the scare factor, to have the mystery factor inside the movie, but they didn't. And I feel they revealed too much too soon, and at the end, the way it played out, I think it should have ended the way that the girl had made it seem like it ended.
Right. Yeah, there was a lot of false flag narrative going on here, and discrepancies of perception for the audience and for the characters themselves, and almost a little bit too much. Like, one of my main problems about the second one was, again, how it negated the plot line of the first one, but also it took probably I mean, if I don't know how long the movie was, but let's say an hour and a half. It took that first hour and treated it like these characters just going to haunted houses.
Right.
And nothing really happened in terms of any real story progression until the last 10, 15 minutes. And that seemed like a bit of a waste. Like, the first one had that element to it, but it managed to pepper in a lot of the deeper story progression all throughout.
Right.
They kept encountering the porcelain girl kind of thing. And
just the reoccurring characters from the haunted houses from previous haunts that they had gone to.
Right.
Was definitely terrifying. I mean, I will note there was a couple scary parts in the second one, like when basically they used noxious gas and made them all asleep, and then they drove them up to the Hellbent haunt. And
sorry to interject, but I'm going to interject. How much scarier would that have been if that had been done from the perspective of the cast? Right. If they had simply, from our eyes, gone to sleep and then woke up and were in a totally different place without explanation. I mean, it could be explained later, but it took that opportunity and just completely threw it out the window. It showed how it all happened.
Well, I mean, they took every opportunity they could have done. They would right in the second movie was done right there in the first 15 minutes when they came out as like, oh, they're saying the Blue Skeleton's a YouTube page, so therefore it's obviously not a real thing. So, I mean, the first one was great. Could probably do without the second one. I think the director phoned that one in.
Yeah, the first movie I did enjoy, and I think a lot of people may enjoy that movie that fans wanted the second one. I think the second one might have been a money grabber, and they tried to twist it, or they tried to play it in with the first movie, and it did give away a lot of the first movie, which
I think when they made the second, there might have been. They might not have been planning to do a sequel. Honestly, I think they just
a money grab.
They threw it together like, okay, let's do a sequel, let's do more. How do we do this? So they just kind of,
shoehorned it.
Yeah,
it just reminds me of the episode of.
It feels
Family Guy.
forced.
I'm not going to say what episode it is, but if you guys decide to watch these two movies together, I'm sure a lot of Family Guy fans will know what episode I'm talking about.
Yeah, big middle finger.
I don't know. I honestly think that the movie would have been better served not being not being made at all. But I mean, you obviously had a director and a cast and a crew that knew what they were doing and did a really good job. The first one was a pretty big hit, especially for being a low budget movie. I really wish they had taken the momentum of that, the fandom that they had gained, the potential monetization that, would have followed from that. Usually you have a good hit like that and some backers will, like, well, here's some more money. Let's see what you can do. I really wish they had turned that into a totally different, separate thing.
Oh, absolutely.
It felt like capitalizing in on trying to capture that lightning in a bottle again. And we all know how that goes most times.
Right. And you can't just play the same story, especially when you give the story away in the beginning of a new movie.
Not just give it away, but almost say, like, psych,
it wasn't real,
yeah.
But here, we're going to make another movie about it anyway.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It left a bad taste in my mouth. I appreciate you bringing both to us for the marathon and for our viewing. But I will say that, and I think we're all in agreement here, that I liked the first one
Absolutely.
way more than the second.
The first was good. It was a good movie.
I thought it was a good little romp. And I will admit to something here. This is one of the unfortunate aspects of watching movies in a 24-hour marathon is sometimes it becomes less about the movies and more about the physical endurance trial of the marathon.
Which I lacked. I slept through both movies.
Yeah.
I haven't seen either one of them.
And I will admit,
I
that my eyes got pretty droopy during both of them. And I missed, 5-minute snippets here and there. I was pretty much doing the movie equivalent of, hitting the cattle guard on the road. But what I do recall of both, I really, really enjoyed the first one. I thought it had some really good scares, some good characters, some good plot. And that was another thing that was really disappointing about the second one was we had these characters that you actually really kind of liked and loved.
Right.
And the second one, it made them unlikable. They started not turning on each other, but disrespecting each other to a degree that made you kind of not want to root for them anymore.
Right. They just seemed like awful people, kind of like an awful film. But...
Yeah. So, last thoughts, Jenny. What did you think?
I like the first one. I recommend the first one.
Don't watch the
If
second.
you're up for the second one to find out what the fuss is about, go right ahead.
So it's like The Descent. Watch the first one, but just don't bother with it.
I would honestly say watch the second one more as an academic endeavor. Find out.
But not if it's gonna ruin the first one for you.
Yeah. Okay. The Descent. I will say the second one. The second one may not have lived up to the quality of the first one, but it didn't negate the first one.
No, it didn't.
And Houses October Built, it did.
Yeah.
So you know what? Maybe in this case, maybe it is worth just completely skipping the second one. If you like the first one, leave it be. Which is what the filmmaker should have done. Right. All right, there we go.
There we go. We're in consensus.
All right. So thank you so much for bringing those to us.